Hello and welcome to Re-enthused. Today we are going to take a quick look at this board. So this is a board that we made up. Hopefully it's going to be a replacement for the Texas Instruments TI99 for a computer. And that machine uses an AC adapter that feeds AC straight into the console rather than converting it itself. It tends to break down. It's quite hard to get replacements for it. So what this board should be is a drop-in replacement for the actual power board, which is the bit that takes that AC and converts it to DC. And instead it will allow you to put DC straight in. So we can just replace it within any old adapter. In this case, we're kind of hoping for a USB 5 volts adapter. It may not work. We may have to go to 9 volts, but we will find out. So yeah. Now the idea is this board will mean you can just replace that whole bit without having to do any kind of customizations to the casing or anything. It will just replace what's there and you can keep that safe. And if you want to put it back to being a cherry machine, you can just put it all back without any hassles. Right, now, we haven't received most of the components here. Let's just say for administration reasons. But we have received what is by far the hardest component of the board. And you'll see these little bits here. There's two of them. These are for the LT1054s, which is basically a voltage regulation circuit. That does the main part of the work. It takes in the 5 volts, it upvolts to 12. It also spits out minus 12, which we can then downvolt to minus 5, and that's all the voltages that the TI99 actually needs right there. So, the two of them, because we're doing a parallel conversion to get all of the voltages we need. And yeah, as you can see, they're pretty tiny. And if we bring out the chip, put it in place, you'll see that's also very tiny. So how do we deal with this? Well, we don't have to try and solder the whole thing. It's not really good for drag soldering because it's just 8 pins. So it's a lot of hassle just for 8 pins basically. But we don't have to we don't have to do all the pins at once. What I generally start with things like this is I start with one pin, get one pin in place, get the chip in place, and then you can just do opposite side pins and Bob's your uncle. Now, the one annoying thing is these are obviously cheaper knockoffs of the 1054 chip. Now you see here, you should just be able to see that there's like a little indent. Now that says effectively the side that pin 1 is, because obviously it's important to get these fans around the right way. Now these chips, I don't think this is going to focus on it, is it? No. These chips generally, they have a line or something that denotes where that side is, where pin 1 is. These don't, I'm guessing because they're cheap knockoffs. So we're going to go with the theory that generally the logo is on the same side as pin 1, because the writing tends to go like the right way up if you've got the pin 1 side to the left. We're going with that. It may not be right, but we should find out quite quickly if it's not. Now, so what we want to do is put it in place. We're just making sure that this does all line up. It does. We're making sure because we used a off-the-shelf component in Easy EDA, which is where I tend to design my PCBs. So you can never be entirely sure they're right. The pin layout is certainly correct, but the actual physical layout may not have been. Alright, so what we want to do is, with any soldering, is we want to heat up the area that we want to solder, because you want to bring the solder to the heat, not the other way around. So we heat that up, and then we just put on some solder. There we go, we've got a nice solder point. A bit of junk there, get rid of that. Yeah, I need to already, I think, redesign the way I've done this new table. Some of it's a bit annoying. Alright, but nearly part of that is literally just because of the amount of stuff that I've tried to cram on it. Right, so let's put the chip in place. There we go, just hold that down and then just put some heat where we put the solder so it melts. There we go. That's now in place. It all looks like it's lined up. We could do maybe with a little bit. Let's get some tweezers just to hold it, and then we'll just kind of turn it around. There we go, that's much better. Right, so now we can go and do some of the other pins. So let's start with the opposite side. I'm using some nice leaded solder, which means I have to remember not to put it in my mouth, because I did have a tendency of doing that with the other stuff. You don't want to do that with leaded solder. So, yeah, again, we want to heat up the area that we are adding the solder to. And then when it's got some heat in it, we just bring in the solder. Which is really tough to do when it's this small. There you go, that's done. Let's do a bit more, actually. There we go. So now we can just go around and just add solder to all of these pins. There's a fairly good gap, considering how small this chip is, there's a fairly good gap between the different pins, so the chances are we're not going to easily bridge anything anyway. And you don't have to be worried about that anyhow. You can, it's the, well, as I say, that we just did. And in fact, that's kind of helped me set the, oops, see, now I've gone and cursed myself. You know what, this is a good lesson. Part of the problem there was, of course, I had too much solder on my soldering iron. Now we can try dragging that solder away. I think there's too much of it, but that's fine, because that is what solder braid is for. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add some flux to it. That will help the solder flow a little better. So yeah, we just stick some flux on the braid itself. Apply that area to the chip. There we go. So if you have a look at that, oh, it's not really in focus, but you can kind of see. So that's now nicely sucked up all of that solder. Now we want to give it a bit more solder, because we did take a lot off. So we'll just be a bit more careful this time. And there we go. So that looks pretty good. We'll obviously check connections later on. So well, let's do the second one. And we'll try and do this better this time. Let's take that. That looks pretty good. Alright, let's get that in the display. I do need a better camera, one that can do closer focus. So what we'll do is we will heat up this pad. There we go. No, we'll just do one. It's always best to just do one, it's just easier to manage. Then what we'll do, no, you need to go that way. Then what we do, again, is if we take our tweezers, just kind of shepherd this into place. In fact, let's just get it done with our fingers first, and we know it won't be perfect. Or maybe it will. Yeah, okay, well, we do with our fingers, that's good. And then again, Best way is just to do one opposite, so we've got a good mechanical grip. Heat up the pad and the leg, and then bring in the solder. There we go. Now you can add flux to this. Flux does make it flow a little easier, but you can do it without. My only issue with flux is it's just very, very messy. But you know, that's what isopropyl alcohol's for. Not for, you know, drowning your sorrows, but for cleaning up mess. Okay, the very last one. Right, again, we've already got some solder on this side, so we can probably just, there we go, flux and everything. And there we go. With a bit of flux on there, it comes off very easily. But again, we're going to need to just add a bit more solder in, because we have cleared a lot out. And there we go. That's it. That's the two first components done. And we didn't have to put too much heat on for too long. It's yeah, I mean, obviously you need to get this stuff soldered in place reliably, but if the heat's on there for too long, then it's not hard to damage the chips. But they're pretty reliable nowadays, these things. It's now, can we get this to focus? I think probably not. Yeah, it's unfortunately this camera just isn't that great. There we go. But anyway, there you go. So that's all soldered. I can check those obviously with a voltage meter to make sure that the connections are there, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be. And obviously one of the checks you want to do as well, especially on very small components like this, is to make sure that you haven't accidentally bridged stuff and just haven't noticed. That's the mistake I made, especially on the first one, where the solder got into the top of the legs. So you have to really make sure that that's all gone. I suspect it probably is, but we will check that. So yeah, that's a bit of soldering. We will hopefully get the rest of these components relatively soon. Hopefully. And then we can apply the rest of them. That'll be quite good. Okay, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please hit like. If you really like the video, please hit subscribe. If you didn't like the video or you have something else to say, then please leave it in the comments below. See you next time.